Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee, the Whacking Weird Wednesday episode. This is the show where I wake up Raj. He hasn't had any coffee. That's why it's called Before Coffee. And we find news as quickly as possible, and we're going to tell you about it. So that's I know we've been running this show for like 400 episodes now or something. Oh no, 200, 300. But nobody's ever... I didn't realize I never explained the premise of the show to begin with. So I guess I'll start doing that now. Anyways, let's go into the show with our headlines. Today on Before Coffee. New Zealand ends plans to price agricultural emissions.
The world's widest highway takes forever to cross in Argentina. And in other highway news, there's a watermelon spill in Utah.
Easy Life band renamed Hard Life after Easy Group legal row.
A new bicycle seat will move with your butt. And Japan destroys a building that was blocking the scenery.
16 years for stealing a flower pot. The film about the IPP jail sentence designed to bury you alive.
All those stories on National Jerky Day, which is June 12th, 2024, and Before Coffee.
All right. Hello, Mom. Yes, you're welcome for the birthday wishes. And now let's talk about cows belching. That's right. In New Zealand, a lot of cows are making a lot of gas. And they're planning on cutting the price of those emissions. This is from Lucy Kramer on Reuters. New Zealand on Tuesday, which was June 11th, ended a plan to put a price on agricultural emissions, including methane produced by the belching sheep and cattle, relenting to farmer pressure that the plan would make their businesses unprofitable. Well, I mean, just stop them from being gassy. Just feed them better. I don't know. The Conservative government said in a statement it would establish a pastoral sector group with representatives from the agricultural sector to find other ways to reduce biogenic methane. Have less cattle, have less sheep. I know, that's hard. Terms of the reference for the group need to be developed and agreed upon. The previous government had introduced a plan to charge farmers for their gas emissions from the end of 2025. It was hailed as a world's first. New Zealand, home to 5 million people, has about 10 million cattle and 26 million sheep. That's a lot of sheep. That's a lot of sheep. I mean, it's a lot of cattle too, but even more sheep. Nearly half of its total greenhouse gases emissions come from agriculture, mainly methane. New Zealand has been planning on including agriculture in the emission trading scheme as part of its commitment to stop global warming. However, the plan was unpopular in many parts of the rural sector, and the current government promised to end if elected. It is time for a fresh start in how we engage with the farmers and processes to work on biogenic methane, said New Zealand Minister of Agriculture Todd McClay. He added that the government was committed to meeting its climate change obligations. The government has committed 400 million New Zealand dollars, or 245 million US dollars, over the next 4 years to accelerate the commercialization of tools and technology to reduce on-farm emissions, and will increase funding for New Zealand Agriculture Greenhouse Gas Research Centre by 50.5 million New Zealand dollars over the next 5 years, the statement has said. $1 is worth 1.6 New Zealand dollars. Staying up to date on the key company's data and decisions is the ECG World... Oh no, sorry, that's a newsletter freaking thing. But that's the end, I guess. They are working on getting rid of this gas. They love belching cows, and it's really weird that people still think that having that much, like 26 million sheep, right? They have, what is the math here? 5 sheep per person. just running around in New Zealand. They only have 5 million people in New Zealand. They have 5 sheep per person, which I guess seems reasonable if every person in New Zealand was a sheep farmer. Unfortunately, it's more likely that there's 100 sheep per person, or, and they could just reduce that to 50 or 25 sheep. Oh, but it's not going to be sustainable. It's like, that's what farmers always say about everything, man. No, we can't make money if you do that. Okay.
Sure you can.
Instead of making double our profits, we're only going to make a quarter of our costs and profits. Oh no! I'm not saying farmers are rich people by any means, okay? But
nope.
I guess you have to try to decide if you're doing the farming to provide a service or you're doing it to become a billionaire, I don't understand how unsustainable it is. So I guess you'd have to look at the numbers of the actual amount of emissions that are currently being produced in New Zealand, and then decide if they had been charging you for it, if that would mean anything. I'm kind of on the line, because this similar thing happened in the Netherlands during, I think in 2021, it might have been 2020 even, right? The Netherlands started charging everyone for trying to save the water quality, because people were, just dumping manure in the water, or it was run off into the water. So they're trying to charge people for that so that they could get the water quality back up, and they had that law in place for 5 years, and they're like, okay, this is the year we're going to start placing it down, right? It's been passed, it's time to start. And then as soon as they started, but there's plenty of information that all of those farmers that were protesting were just being paid. Not really paid, but they were being influenced by the agricultural industry, who makes money, right, selling your produce on the market to the rest of the EU. And they're like, oh, we're gonna lose money. Not the farmers, but the people who are making money off your products. They're the ones who are losing money. So that's why I'm very cynical about any of this. Farmers are losing money and it's not sustainable. I think there's some person who buys your produce, who buys your wool and yells at you and says, hey, you better not let them take your sheep. You're not going to be able to afford it if they do. Okay, Mr. Corporation, you know better than me. I'm just a farmer. That's what I'm thinking.
This is why the government steps in a lot with price fixing. They guarantee farmers a profit. Otherwise, they'll stop producing. Why should I produce? I'm not going to make money. Farmers do have a lot of strength, but there used to be a thing called a grange in the United States, where they used to, it was a union for farmers, because the railroads were charging different people different rates to take their crops to market, and then they said, no, you're going to charge us all the same rate. Anyway, that's totally not here or there, but according to your story.
Now that's the end of it.
The government does take care of farmers because they're afraid of them destroying their crops on purpose. It's like, I'm not making any money. Why should I give you my food,
Yeah, exactly.
What's the point of me even existing if I'm not making money? Okay. I gotta live. I can't just sit there and do this and go broke. All right. Is that my story now?
Yep.
Oh, and I sent you a video, so I'm ahead of the game a little bit.
I see it now.
So it's 10 minutes, so you can only watch the last 2, I think. So for the summation, which is good. All right, so we're going to talk about the world's biggest avenue. This is from OddityCentral.com. 3-minute story. Avenida 9 de Julio Avenida 9 de Julio in Buenos Aires, Argentina, holds the Guinness record for the widest avenue in the world, approximately 140 meters. It features a total of 16 lanes, so crossing them from one side to the other is quite an undertaking. The history of Avenida 9 de Julio can be traced back to the glory days of the Argentinian capital. Buenos Aires was called the Paris of South America, so local authorities decided to cement that reputation by building a monumental piece of infrastructure inspired by Paris's Champs-Élysées. Only a simple copy wasn't enough. They wanted something larger, more impressive, so they settled on an urban highway passing through the center of the city that was double the width of the famous French Avenue. It was a colossal project that took almost half a century to finish, but in 1980, Avenida de 9 de Julio was finally, someday I'll pronounce it right, was finally completed. It still holds the record for the widest avenue. That is a big, big, wide avenue. Airplanes can land on it. It's like a big airplane. Well, except for the hedges in the middle.
The big ones.
Yeah, it'll mow down the hedges with the fuselage, but the wings I think will clear most things. I don't know. Creating enough space for an avenue wider than any other in the center of a metropolis was in itself a tremendous challenge that resulted in the demolition of 60,000 square meters of urban real estate and the displacement of thousands of residents just to complete this first section. Brilliant. Today, Avenida 9 de Julio remains as impressive when it was inaugurated in 1980 and twice as chaotic, with a total of 60 lanes from one side to the other, as well as 4 additional lanes for public transportation buses, a central pedestrian area, and no less than 7 sidewalks between the car lanes. It takes quite a while to traverse. One TikToker recently filmed himself walking from one side of Avenida 9 de Julio to the other, and it took him a whopping 4 minutes and 17 seconds, even though he claimed to be walking faster than he usually does. That includes all the time he spent waiting at traffic lights. By comparison, the average avenue takes only 25 seconds to cross. Interestingly, Avenida 9 de Julio, how do you say 9 in Spanish? Eve. Right? Anyway. Brushing up my Spanish, my brain isn't working. Claimed the title is World's Oldest Avenue with the help of 2 other streets. On the other side of the avenue is Carlos Pellegrini Street, and on the west is Cerritos Street. In practice, both function as extra lanes for the avenue, so their combined 6 lanes are taken into account when measuring the width of the avenue. Without them, it would only be 120 meters wide compared to the official 140 meters. That's 2 other streets, so you can't do that. You name them 2 other streets. You have to unname them streets. I would take their record away. I would. That's just me. Another highway knows. This is from UPI.com. Ben Hooper. Short little story. Spill covers Utah highway and smashed watermelons. On June 11th, the Utah Department of Transportation said it was in a melancholy morning on Interstate 80 when a truck spilled its load of watermelons onto the roadway. The department shared photos on social media showing this sticky mess of smashed watermelons littering the roadway near Echo Reservation in Summit County on Monday. A photo shows a semi-truck that was carrying melons with the side torn off its trailer. It was not clear how the damage occurred. It was a melancholy morning on I-80 today, officials wrote. At 3 a.m., our team learned this fruity spill and jumped into action in early hours to reopen all lanes for the commute. So all that for a bad pun. And back to you.
Okay. Let's go ahead and go to my weird, speaking of planes, this article is about EasyJet and a band called Easy Life getting in a row with each other, and the band ending up having to change their name. This is for Nornanji on the BBC. Frontman Murray Matavers said the band had made their peace with the name change. The band, formerly known as Easy Life, changed their name to Hard Life after legal action by the brand owners of airline EasyJet. It's like, yeah, it's a hard life. You can't even name a band without corporations getting into your business. Last year, the indie band said Easy Group was suing them because their name was too similar. Is that even a grounds to sue somebody? I guess. We felt angry and powerless, frontman Murray Matavers told BBC News, but if our name affects them that much, I'll walk away from it because it's not worth it. Easy Group has said it would have been unfair to let the band use the Easy brand name without royalty payments. We own the word Easy for the rest of time. No one else is allowed to be called Easy anything. Do they really have the copyright on the word Easy? I doubt it. We have trademarked Easy. The Leicester Band announced their new name and a new single, Tears, on Tuesday evening. They're really going into like... It sounds like they're really going into like, our life is hard. Hard life. I'm crying. Can't name our band Easy. Easy life. The band has been going since 2017 and has 5 members. They found themselves locked in a battle with Easy Group last year after the company said the band had promoted their Life's at Beach tour in 2021 and 2022 with a poster showing a plane in a style of an EasyJet orange livery, but substituting the airline's name for their own. Isn't that just satire? Are we not protecting satire in the UK? I guess not. In its claim lodged with the High Court, Easy Group also said the band had produced t-shirts bearing their name in the company's brand and style, and the website infringed its trademark with its similar EasyJet branding. Easy Group said other companies paid to use its brand name. They didn't use their brand name though, they used their own name, and they just used similar branding because... it's obviously too much trouble. We cannot allow others to simply use it for free. Gratis and for nothing, a spokesperson said at the time. That would be unfair. Murray Matt Evers said the bands were excited to be back. In October, the band said they were going to stop using the Easy Life name following the legal threat, and they played their final show under their old name at the Coco in London on October 13th. In an exclusive interview, Matt Evers told BBC News the row was the weirdest and most surreal thing that had happened to him. I mean, it's absolutely nuts, he said. We didn't go into music to fight huge corporations and legal battles, obviously. The band said they could not afford to take the matter to court, but now he was over it. The name doesn't change anything. Doesn't change who I am as an artist, Matt Evers said. We made our peace with it. And when it came to deciding a new name, there had been no question what to choose. All of us unanimously in the group turned around and said, "It's going to be a hard life, surely," Matt Evers said. The band did brainstorm other names, but kept returning to Hard Life. It was similar to when he had inspiration for a song, Matt Evers said. I learned that the first idea is always the best, so I've kept the same philosophy with the band name, he said. And whenever friends asked him what the new name was going to be, it had always raised a smile or laugh. So it just feels appropriate, Matt Evers said. I'm a white middle-class man from England. It's not to say I've had a particularly hard life either. It was more just in response to what had happened. Hard Life felt like an obvious thing. It's a great name, and I'm really happy with it. For a while after the row, Matt Evers found it hard to work on music, but earlier this year he found his flow again and wrote Tears. And the band say the song about growing up and lowering up marks a new chapter. One lyric makes a reference to Easy Group owner Sir Stelios Haji Anau. Easy Group's lawyers have objected to the lyric, calling it disparaging and defamatory. Oh right, oh my feelings, we attacked the homegrown band who's not even famous enough to probably fill an arena. You're making reference to our company.
Oh.
How is EasyJet ever going to survive this now? Because there's a band called Easy Life. They said Easy Group and Sir Stelios were disappointed. Hard Life had chosen to legally refresh the abuse, but had the band had chose to settle several months ago. I think I'm disappointed EasyJet felt the need to sue somebody for their band name. But Matt Evers said he wanted to use the music to reflect what the band had gone through. Well, even though I thought EasyJet was a British company, but they don't sound very British at all, because what's a little banter between two people, that's normal British culture there. Not for EasyJet, I guess. So what's next for Matt Evers and his bandmates? We want our tour. We want to get out there. We want to play festivals. He said, adding their fans had been incredible. Everything's brand new. We're hitting the ground running with this new song. Who knows where we'll go next, Matt Evers said. I'm just excited to be out and about again. Hopefully we can put this chapter behind us, move on, and focus on music again. Yeah, and hopefully EasyJet can get the stick out of their ass, but we can only hope. But there you go. The story of the band who had to change their name because they used satire a little too on the nose, I guess.
Yeah, well, meanwhile, there's a band called the Rolling Stones and a magazine called the Rolling Stone. They get along fine. I wonder why. Because they're not assholes. All right, there you go.
That's my story.
Is that it? All right, so we're going back to weird news and just people being weird. We have
More
more
weird stuff.
weird stuff. We'll do the shorter story first. Condo building to be demolished for blocking local scenery. This is from Ben Hooper again from UPI. A Japanese developer said a nearly completed condo building in Kunitachi, Tokyo Prefecture, will be demolished after local residents complained it was blocking their view of Mount Fuji. Well, yeah, I'd complain too, but I wouldn't expect anybody to do anything about it. A Japanese development firm announced it will demolish a nearly completed condominium building after neighbors complained it was blocking their view of Mount Fuji. At least it wasn't a building that's been there for years, I will say that. Osaka-based developer Tsukisui House said a 10-story, 18-unit building in Kunitachi, Tokyo Prefecture will be demolished just weeks before the first residents were due to move in 30 units. What are those poor people going to do now? Well, I bought a condo. The building's gone. Anyway, developer had earlier made concessions, including reducing the plan from 11 stories to 10. That's not a compromise. And reducing the height of each floor after locals complained it would block their view of Mount Fuji, the tallest mountain in the country. The company said in a statement provided to Kyoto News that the decision was made to demolish the building known as Grand Maison Kanatachi Fujimi Dori due to its insufficient consideration for the impact of the scenery. We are well over the culture that values scenery, but we failed to consider it adequately. We apologize to the contracting parties, the statement said. The developer said the would-be condo owners who purchased units in the building for about $446,000 each will be provided with financial compensation. So there's your story from Japan, something that would never happen in the United States. Somebody, this is going to cost me money. I can't do it. Well, that's why it's called Weird Wednesday. Stuff you never see. A company voluntarily taking a hit in the pants for the scenery. Because I can't see the mountain. I can't tell if it's still there. In the United States, I was saying, well, tough shit, move. You don't like it, move. That's the United States would say. Nobody would consider tearing down that building. It's already there. Sure. It's too late. It's too damn late. We already got people moving in. That's what they would say. And then we get a judge to agree with them. The world's okay. And other news. Ideal bike saddle moves under your butt as you pedal. This is from Oddity Central again. By Spooky is the name of the writer, I guess. One name, Spooky. That's spooky. Vabs Rider, the world's first virtual axis bicycle seat, is an innovative bicycle seat featuring two sides that move independently as you pedal to distribute the load more evenly for a more comfortable ride. Australian engineer Robin Macan has always wondered why no one had come up with a more comfortable bicycle seat. The flaw of the common saddle is obvious. No amount of cushioning can compensate for the inherent pains on the human body, so he came up with the concept for the articulating bicycle seat that would dynamically distribute body weight as the pedaler pedaled. He took his prototype to the inventors of the Association of Australia, a nonprofit offering support to inventors, and that was where he connected with industrial designer Philippe Guichard. The two sat down, set out to refine the design, and after 2 years of work, they combined forces with Whistle, an industrial design and engineering company, to develop a market-ready product. Now the Vabs Rider split-seat bicycle saddle is ready for users, the most comfortable bike ride of their lives. The innovative split-seat design allows for individual movement of the legs. I got a picture of it here. It's got it's really thin on both sides, and it's different levels, because it's always going to be at different levels unless the pedals are level, I think. Yeah. The innovative split seat allows for individual movement of legs, rotating around the hip joints on an axis that is virtual to the seat. Macan's company, Ataraxi BSC, writes, the Vabs Rider, trademark, transfers the pressure from the sit bones to the femurs, ensuring an evenly distributed load. Ataraxi BSC describes the Vabs Rider as the ideal bike saddle. Dynamic, flowing in motion with your body, and pain-free. Macan and Guichard figured out that when the part of the human body is pushing against something that doesn't move along with it, it becomes sore. So, by allowing an adjustable saddle to move up and down with the legs, the pressure is shifted from the sit bones to the femurs, greatly decreasing discomfort. I want one of these, as long as it works. To further maximize the rider's comfort, the split seat comes equipped with set screws and facilitate multiple adjustments, including a fore, aft, and height positions, as well as the angle and width of the saddle. The Ataraxi BSC Vabs Rider is set to hit the market in the very near future, and it certainly sounds like something that could have great success among bicycle riders. The company hasn't announced the price yet, but it's probably a bit more expensive than the average bike seat. Yeah, but I think you'd pay for that. If you're one of these people like me, you get off the bike, you feel great until you start walking and your butt hurts. Yeah. This is going to be
very common.
This is good.
I hear in the Netherlands, right, where there's more bikes than people, there's plenty of guys that are like, oh my god, my ass hurts. I have to get off my bike. I've been biking for 3 hours.
People like this, I can see this company just expanding its operations rapidly.
Yeah.
Just to meet the orders. But there's a story on something that I could use for damn sure. And this should be our Good News Tuesday, our Good Tuesday Newsday also.
My butt feels relieved just thinking about it.
Yeah, damn right. My butt hurts this moment just sitting here, so I'll give you an idea. Anyway, back to you.
All right, for our culture segment, we're looking at a film that is about the jail sentences designed to bury you alive for something as simple as stealing a flower pot. This is from Simon Hatton Stone on The Guardian. Totally going to break box office records, but Britain's Forgotten Prisoners might just be the most important film made in the UK this year. For anybody interested in justice, or rather injustice, it's unmissable. Premiering at the Sheffield Doc Fest on Thursday, which is June 13th, Britain's Forgotten Prisoners tell the stories of convicts serving indeterminate sentences known as imprisonment for public protection, or IPP, in England and Wales. It focuses on life after the prisoners have been released and their almost inevitable recall to prison, usually for minor breaches of their license, such as being late for an appointment with their probation officer. The IPP was introduced in 2003 by a Labour government determined to show it was tough on crime and tough on causes of crime. Prisoners were given a tariff, a minimum term, but most have been jailed way beyond that, with no sense of when they would be freed. Indeed, it came to regard it so tough that it was abolished in 2012 after the European Court of Human Rights declared it a violation of Article 5 of the European Conventions of Human Rights, the right to liberty and security. But anyone who's following the Rwanda bill controversy knows the UK doesn't care about human rights. They just care about doing what they think is best. Just like in the colonial times. We know what's best for you, okay? We're the most civilized.
Burn that witch.
Exactly. Although Britain stopped handing out sentences, it did not abolish IPP retrospectively. This means at the time there were more than 6,000 people still serving the sentence. 12 years on, almost 3,000 are still in prison, not knowing when or if they will be released. Britain's Forgotten Prisoners introduces us to a handful of IPP prisoners, nearly all of whom were convicted of as young adults for relatively minor crimes. That's the weird part of this story. The film shows us in stark terms how being put in prison with no release date, which is also a wacky and weird part of this story, is a route to insanity and hopelessness. Of the 8,711 people given an IPP, at least 90 are known to have committed suicide, and in 2023, 241 IP prisoners were detained in secure hospitals, probably because they've gone crazy. You can go crazy from being in prison. In the film, the voices come thick, fast, and wretched. Imagine someone put a bag over your head and you're in complete darkness. You're going to go mad at some point, says one. The IPP sentence was designed to bury you alive, adds another. We meet Sean Lloyd, who was in jail for 2 years and 9 months at the age of 18 after pushing somebody to the floor and taking their mobile phone in 2005. So petty theft. When his victims in 2005, so maybe he's been in there for 20 years. When his victim chased him and stopped and returned his phone, Sean had been released and recalled a number of times for taking heroin. He became a drug addict in prison. Okay, so he pushed him to the floor, tried to steal their phone, ended up getting caught, gave the phone back, And he went into prison for like 20 years for that. And also became a drug addict while he was in prison. We see him waiting to be called to jail for same crime almost 20 years later after another relapse. I think I'll kill myself, he says boldly. I'm a burden on my mum. If I was to commit suicide, it would break her heart, but then the IPP would be done. His mother is the heroic Shirley DeBono, who has been fighting for Sean and all IPP prisoners for 15 years, currently with the IPP Committee in Action campaign group. Shirley's daughter, Lisa, died at 6 weeks, and we see her visiting her grave. However painful Lisa's death remains for her, she says it cannot compare to the grief she has experienced losing Sean. I want him back, she says heartbreakingly. Then there's Ronnie St. Clair, who served 16 years in jail on a 3-year IPP tariff, so he was only supposed to be in for 3 years, but ended up being 16, for stealing a flower pot at the age of 17. My flower pot! Sorry! It broke. She is terrified of using self-service tills in case she's accused of theft and are called to prison. Oh my god. It's actually mental torture, dude. Nick Waskousis, who served 17 years for grievously bodily harm 5 times over his tariff, also lives in fear of recall. Gets to a point where being alive hurts mentally. Is there any point in getting up every day and trying where in reality I think I'm gonna die in prison? Yeah, they're just gonna put me in jail for stealing for bodily harm. What does that mean? Grievous bodily harm. Did he hurt somebody or he hurt himself? You have an IPP for hurting yourself and you're in jail for 17 years. That will fix it. Gregor Gray served 19 years after receiving a tariff of 4 years for robbery in GBH after a pub fight. Now he hopes to be a hire at a burger van by Edgbaston Cricket Ground in Birmingham, but we can see he's struggling with his mental health. They may not have shot them, but they've broken them down one by one. His mother says of IPP prisons, Nicole Clark got a tariff of 18 months for GBH and served 10 years when she was still a young mother. She's now an addict and desperately trying to kick her habit and hold down a job in Iceland. Not only those serving IPP sentence who are traumatized, David Blunkett, who introduced the sentence as Home Secretary, looks tortured when he talks about the monster he created. I got my part of it wrong, and there are times in life when you put your hands up. I couldn't just walk away from what happened, and I can't now. I will continue doing so until we put this wrong to rights. Blunkett clearly won't find an inner peace till he does. Why don't we put him in an IPP sentence for societal torture? Maybe it doesn't matter. He already feels bad. This is gonna prove the point, right? That putting somebody in prison as like a punishment doesn't work. Punishing people doesn't do anything. Realistically, at least according to some sociologists. Righting those wrongs would mean resentencing IPP prisoners who have served more than their tariff, 99% of whom, 50% of who have served more than 10 years with the tariff in December of 2023, would be released, while the few who haven't been given a determinate sentence for their index crime. Last year, the Justice Select Committee recommended all IPP prisoners be resentenced. This is when what was witnessed was a callous cynicism of ambitious politicians. Prison is a toxic topic for those with their eyes on the prize. Dominic Raab, a Justice Secretary, rejected the resentencing recommendation. Current Justice Secretary Alex Chalk has referred to IPP as a stain on the justice system. Despite this, he recently told the Commons that the danger of the resentencing is that it would result in IPP prisoners actually being released. Yeah, they've served their time. Let them get out of jail. What's the problem here? As for labor, they're still thinking of that they're actually protecting society, right? The whole idea of this thing was, we're going to put these people in prison to protect the rest of society from them. Right? That's the idea of the thing. And the people who are talking about it are still in the idea that the people who are in prison are dangers to society, which realistically they're not. I mean, I'm a danger to society. Just because I haven't committed a crime doesn't mean tomorrow I can't go murder somebody. Like, you can't...
Oh. Y'all start doing that. Don't worry. Have you seen The Purge?
Yeah. No, that's not The Purge. It's
which one?
That film?
The one where they
Minority Report. You're thinking of Minority Report.
Oh, okay. All right.
The one where they're like, we predicted this person is gonna commit a murder. All right, I'm gonna go kill him before they do the murder.
Let's arrest them. Yep. As soon as you're convicted, you're already you're a danger. They didn't lock you up yet. You're a danger to society.
For the rest of life.
Right. How can we be sure you'll never make a mistake again? Well, you can't. All right, you're dangerous. Get back in the cell.
Yep. The only thing I can think of is that these people genuinely believe that if you've committed a crime, it'll be easier to keep committing a crime. And I have no idea if that's actually scientific fact or if there's any study on this. It just sounds like something you see on the TV, right? Oh, well, once you become a gangster, you're just gonna be a harder and harder gangster until you die in the streets in a gunfight, and that's what they think everybody who commits a crime is. Instead of, I don't know why she stole that plant pot. It wasn't that important, though. I don't think stealing plant pots is a danger to society. I don't think stealing is a danger to society.
I tell you what is a dangerous society is locking up mom and dad and letting kids, have no parents and they're in prison, or just one parent, and the one parent can't do anything except work and can't supervise the children. That's what is a dangerous society. Now, locking people up has never been a solution, and it's an idiotic solution to a problem. So that's the United States has the biggest prison population in the world by far.
Yep. But I will end this article because it does go on a little bit longer, but basically we'll end this argument with Reed, who is the creator of the Britain's Forgotten Prisoners film, has said that with the general election a month away, he knows there is no better time to heighten awareness of prison sentence that politicians routinely refer to as a stain on democracy while doing nothing to remove it. This shouldn't be happening in our country. It's shocking. The most important thing I want is for a broadcaster to pick the film up so the public can see the injustice and cause outrage, just like with the postmaster scandals. Then we might get somewhere. So if you're not already, watch the film. I don't beg people to do it, share it around. If nobody's going to pick up the broadcasting rights, you're just going to have to make your own social movement. Don't forget about these prisoners who are in jail indefinitely for no reason. This day in history.
Unfortunately, that's not even weird news. That's just a normal state of affairs.
Well, I think it's weird that they constantly say, "Oh, it's terrible that this happened. Anyways, I'm not going to do anything about it." I think that's weird.
Oh, c'est la vie. Anyway. In the United States, of course, the big problem is there's a lot of money in prisons with the private prison industry and the people that sell these little ankle bracelets that click on people for parole. There's a lot of money to be made, and judges get elected and throw people in prison to help their rich buddies make more money. Fill those beds. Shoplifting, 20 years. Yeah. That's what they're doing. They're disgrace. And we're going to do this day in history. Now we're done with the weirdness. Hopefully we'll get some weird stuff in this day in history. Huh? There's always something weird in history. June 12th in 1701, the Act of Settlement, the law that continues to regulate the succession to the throne of the United Kingdom, was passed by Parliament. That was probably just to keep the Hanovers in power, because when Queen Anne died, they had to go get like the 49th person in line from Germany, simply because he wasn't Catholic. That was the only reason. They went all the way to 49. They said, let's look at all the Queen Anne's relatives. Here's one. We found one. King George out in Germany. Does he speak English? No. Is that important? No. Okay. Let's crown him. 1707. Bahadur Shah I won the Mughal throne of India by defeating his brother, Azam Shah, at the Battle of Jaju. So they had a battle with his brother. I don't know. They should just let them both fight it out fisticuff style. That would have been the way to do it, not have a bunch of other people involved, I would think. So they rounded up armies and had them fight each other and kill each other just for their own vanity, basically. In 1776, the Constitutional Convention of the Colony of Virginia adopted the Virginia Declaration of Rights, a model for the Bill of Rights, later added to the U.S. Constitution. Of course, neither one of them included the right to not be a slave. 1898, the Philippines, under the revolutionary leader of Emilio Aguinaldo, declared its independence from Spain. That was during the Spanish-American War, which the United States somehow got involved in the Philippines. 1924, George Herbert Walker Bush, Vice President of the United States, who became 41st President of the United States, was born. So happy 100th birthday to George Herbert Walker Bush. Not Gandit, not Gandit. That's it. That's a Dana Carvey impersonation of him. Anyway, 1939, the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, held its first introduction ceremony. Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, and Honus Wagner were among the inaugural class, which had been elected 3 years earlier. 1941, American jazz pianist, composer, and bandleader Chick Corea was born in Chelsea, Massachusetts. Excuse me. In 1963, American civil rights activist Medgar Evers was fatally shot outside his home in Jackson, Mississippi. His murder received national attention and helped galvanize the movement. Of course, his murderer was arrested, and I think he got some kind of minimum sentence or whatever, or he wasn't even charged. Anyway, Bob Dylan wrote a song about this, and it's called Only a Pawn in Their Game, one of the best civil rights songs. 1967, in Loving versus Virginia, the U.S. Supreme Court unanimously struck down the state law that banned interracial marriage, ruling that it was unconstitutional under the Equal Protection and Due Process clauses of the 14th Amendment. So again, interracial marriage was banned, which is absolute horse shit. Anyway, again, this country is starting from the backwards waters of ignorance and moving forward one step at a time, and then moving back 5 steps, and then moving forward 6, and then moving back 18, and then moving forward 4. We never quite get this shit right. It's absolutely frustrating to live in a country that has its head up its ass. 1981, the action adventure film Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, directed by Steven Spielberg and starring Harrison Ford, was released in the theater. A huge success. It spawned numerous sequels. And they said, well, what's Harrison Ford going to do now that Star Wars is done? Well, you found out. 1987, speaking about the Berlin Wall as he stood at the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, Reagan famously said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. People give him credit for something just for saying that, but Reagan was a terrible president. I don't give him credit for anything. 1991, a series of major explosions began inside Mount Pinatubo, a volcano in western Luzon, Philippines, its first eruption in 600 years. And at the time, the United States was fighting with the Philippines because they had 2 bases there, Clark Air Force Base and what's the name? It's Subic Bay, I believe it's called. Anyway, the United States had to leave after that because their base was rendered unusable. So the Philippines were like, yay, they left. All you needed was a volcano.
Yay.
And then, 2003, American actor Gregory Peck died at the age of 77. He often portrayed characters of honesty and integrity, most notably Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird. So Gregory Peck died this day in 2003. 2016, the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history. Up to that time, whoa, there's a nice one. The deadliest. Of course, the deadliest one was in Las Vegas later. This is the one that took place at Omar Mateen, some idiot, opened fire at Pulse at LGBTQ nightclub in Orlando, Florida, killing 49 people and wounding more than 50. So another scumbag. For some reason, we got to know his name. Featured event, 1991. Boris Yeltsin was easily elected president of Russia, then part of the Soviet Union, in the Republic's first direct popular elections, and he was president of independent Russia until the eve of 2000, where he was replaced by Vladimir the scumbag Putin. And he is a scumbag. Make no doubt about it. A low-level, low-life, scumbag. Feature biography, Anne Frank. It is Anne Frank's birthday. Born June 12th, 1929. She would not quite be 100 yet. She would be 95 today. She died February 1945 or March 1945 at the age of 15 in a concentration camp near Hanover or Bergen-Belsen, Germany. They don't even know which concentration camp she was taken to. All they know is she was never seen again. And all we have is her diaries. And happy birthday to Anne Frank. You didn't deserve that. 1897, Anthony Eden, birthday, Prime Minister of United Kingdom. Other birthdays, David Rockefeller, American banker, born in 1915. American rich guy, let's just say that. He was born rich, died rich, he was rich. 1924, we did George W. Bush, we did Anne Frank. Chick Corea, we also did. American musician, born in 1941. So we covered everything twice for some reason. What are you guys doing in Britannica? Falling asleep? Every one of my birthdays was a repeat, except for David Rockefeller. Okay, and what day is it? It is... That's her National Red Rose Day. So yeah, go and pick them red roses. Oh yeah, give them stop and smell them. Don't necessarily pick them, but just stop and smell them. Don't get stung. National Loving Day. Yeah, National Loving Day. And it's National Peanut Butter Cookie Day.
It is the anniversary of the 1967 U.S. Supreme Court decision Loving versus Virginia.
Oh, that's one that...
There can be no doubt that restricting the freedom to marry solely because of racial classification violates the central meaning of Equal Protection Clause. So basically, you're allowed to marry black people. Woo!
Blacks and whites can marry or whatever, you know. I just don't even understand the racial thing. I never understood it. I think people are full of shit when they bring it up.
Pure racial superiority, purism, and it's no longer legal. So that's what loving day is. You can marry whoever the hell you want. Nobody's gonna freaking say you can't marry them. They're from there.
There's no guarantee that it's not illegal in Mississippi and Alabama to this very day. It might be. I don't even know. It's just that nobody wants to enforce it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like denying that interracial people ever existed before then, which is absurd. Absurd. We can't have interracial marriage. We can have interracial marriages, but we can have rape. You know, it's just dumb fucking shit. These backward ass. Why do we listen to anybody that was even defend the Confederate States for any reason? Why do we ever listen?
I don't know what the government has business in what you do with your life.
There was never anything good about the Confederate States. They were just pure racists, and they wanted their racism. We want our racism. We want to own people. That's what that war was about, man. Look at this. 1967. It took 100 years after the Civil War. Anyway, those are your stories for today, which is June 12th, 2024, on Before Jerky. This is National Jerky Day.
Oh. Did you not do butter cookie day? I thought I caught you there at the...
Oh, you cut me off, and all right. Well, I did say it. I was saying it, but you started talking about National Loving Day. Okay, it's also National Peanut Butter Cookie Day. Yes, sir. Not a big fan of peanut butter cookies unless they got chocolate chips in them and oatmeal. Just peanut butter? Nah. To me, that's
really?
If it's just peanut butter, it needs to have oatmeal and it's got to have raisins.
I guess I just like it when it's just peanut butter.
Nah, not me. Sorry, not my thing. I love some jerky though. Oh, I ate all my jerky yesterday. But there's your moves on Before Peanut Butter Cookies.
All right, let's go ahead. This has been Allison here from the Netherlands. I hope you have a good rest of your wacky and weird Wednesday. Go do something wacky and break those social norms, but don't get put in prison for it like in the UK. And
yeah, don't yell something.
See
you might get locked up.
For Thursday's 13, which hopefully we have 13 things we can talk about tomorrow. We'll think of something. And You take care out there. Don't forget to subscribe. Watch all our previous episodes. And here is the mic drop moment.
But in some, the right-wing justices, 5 of them named to the court by Bush and Trump, the 2 presidents elected in this century to the presidency after losing the popular vote, now act entirely like the judicial arm of the Republican Party, which represents a small minority of the American people. It is no coincidence that Justice and Mrs. Alito today brandish the flag symbols of insurrection, of disunion.
This lady holding a sign. I wonder what it is.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
That Justice Thomas
Alito's
takes
flags
millions of dollars from his right-wing corporate sugar daddies. After all, if you can decide presidential elections with 5-4 votes in Bush versus Gore, if you can pack, stack, and gerrymander not just Congress, but the Supreme Court
Gerrymandering should be
itself
illegal.
by denying the other party even a hearing.
I think a third
why
party
can't
should just
you
make
ask
all the
some friends at
squares.
court? Some
And then that's it.
curiae fly you to Bali for vacation, or pay for your family member's private school tuition, or buy you a recreational vehicle, or send
Yep.
you on a lavish, all-expense-paid vacation. Why the hell not?
That's not bribery
The
for some
highest
reason,
court in the
though.
land today has the lowest ethical standards, and yet they are the only jurists in the federal system who are traditionally given the honorific justice rather than judge, and yet
Yeah.
with their lopsided
They're called the justice.
ideological jurisprudence
Justice is getting bribed.
assaulting the rights of the people, and with their obscene ethical transgressions, they've completely forfeited their right to be called justice. And unless I forget to do it from now on, they're just Judge Alito and Judge Thomas to me, at best. I look forward to hearing from our excellent panelists today about how we got into this predicament and how we can get out. And I now happily turn, I will recognize the vice-ranking member, Ms. Ocasio-Cortez, for any remarks she sees fit to make.
Okie dokie. Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.